Top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Hello, everybody. As Deb said before, it's amazing to be back on Cheshire Socialites, everybody connecting. It's such a shame that we've not been able to get together physically. But that's one of the things that I want to talk about, really. I will tell you a bit about what I do later on, but I don't think that's important in regards to what I bring to the party in regards to being a coach and being a therapist. But one of the things that I was really wanting to tap into is where people are at the moment. And we're hearing on the news and everything at the moment that there's a lot of issues with mental health, with anxiety. People are really suffering. But my research is showing that there's a lot of talk but not much action. And as somebody who, if you don't know, I'm a former police officer and found myself on the verge of suicide, I've been to a really deep place. And the only thing besides rapid transformational therapy, what I do and the coaching, I had to get vulnerable. I had to really be accountable to myself and take action. So there's a lot of great work that goes out there with charities where people can reach out. And I'm going to talk a little bit about where some of the things we do with mental health really aren't helping. And it's something called the vulnerability bucket. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And also about how we support people and why what I do is different. And why a lot of the time we come from a sympathy angle and not an empathy angle, and what sympathy looks like. What does sympathy look like? What does empathy look like? And then why is it that what I do as a rapid transformational therapist allows people to be empowered instead of coping and managing? So I hope that's good. So please share this. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments. I will try and go to them. I might not be able to go to them straight away, so apologies if I miss anybody out. So welcome. A bit about me, Marcus Matthews. I'm a rapid transformational therapist, and kind of my thing is that I believe everybody should live a fulfilled and happy life. And when you break those destructive feelings away from the story that you tell yourself every single day, I'm able to get people in a position where they can start to see their life in a completely different way, to change the perception and to change the angle. A lot of the reasons why people see vulnerability as weakness is very simply because culturally we've been told that we need to get on with it. You know, we can't show vulnerability. And often when you show yourself as being vulnerable, when you need help, it's very difficult. We wait until we break before that happens. That certainly happened to me. It took me 2 years from the start of when I knew there was an issue to actually breaking and being forced to be vulnerable, and then continued to do that from there on in. And I'm going to share something really deep later on, which I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit scared to do. However, I can't ask you to be vulnerable with me as a therapist or me as a coach if I'm not willing to be vulnerable publicly. So I'm sharing this in a number of groups in a watch party at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of people that know me. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to find something out today which is deeply personal to me and my family, the situation we're presently in. And we're not the only ones that are in this position that we're in at the moment. And that's why it is so important to share, and why it is so important to also allow people to understand that they can think and feel better. So I want to give you a quote from an amazing lady called Brené Brown. So if you don't know who Brené Brown is, I've got my things on here. So Michaela, hello, Joanna's here. So yeah, Brené Brown, if you don't know who she is, she did an amazing TED Talk, and she's a shame researcher, and she talks a lot about vulnerability, and I love her stuff. So if you want to find a little bit more about this, go onto YouTube, just put in Brené Brown vulnerability. There's loads of stuff, but I'm going to give you one of her quotes, and it's: daring greatly means courage. To be vulnerable, it means to show up and be seen, to ask what you need, to talk about how you are feeling, to have hard conversations. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have those hard conversations. And I want to take those last 3 lines to ask what you need. Most of us, when we're in a situation where we need help, is we don't know what we need. We just know how we feel. Because when we get to a stage of going into fight or flight, the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that's logical, that's sociable, shuts down. And we go into that caveman, cavewoman, irrational way of doing things because we're emotional. We don't know how to express ourselves. And that is really, really difficult sometimes, to be able to express how we feel and what we need. The other thing is that we're taught that when we're going through tough times to talk about it, but you cannot talk out a feeling. Now, I've spoken to a couple of counsellor friends about this when I say this, but it's true. You can talk and get some perspective, but a lot of the people that I speak to say, yeah, the talking was good, but then I went away and I still had the feelings. So it's like going to the pub. You talk to your mates, you go, I'm feeling like this. Women are much better than this than men. Men tend to internalize a lot of this stuff. But it doesn't get rid of the feeling and the why. Why do I feel like this? This person over here, we went through the same thing, but why do I feel like this? And it's all down to environment. So one of the things that I always talk about is that you're the construction of your past and the manifestation of your future. But if the roadmap that you've had to live your life is not one that brings abundance, love, confidence, then it's very difficult. You don't know what you don't know. So when you're trying to talk about something, and when somebody is telling you something, that how you should cope with something, how you should manage something, but they're coming from a different environment. They're coming maybe from an academic environment. They're coming from a process environment, but you're very creative. You're not gonna gel. You're not gonna understand what they're saying. So it's great to have those conversations, but many people, unless they really empathize and they really understand what that person's doing, it's very, very difficult. And then comes the biggie, really the elephant in the room, which is judgment. So when we don't want to show up, we don't want to look vulnerable, we don't want to look weak because we'll be judged. And unfortunately, this happens all the time. So when I eventually broke, or when I was, I had those issues, I still wanted to be a frontline cop. I still wanted to go out there and do the job. But I was told, oh, no, you do some paperwork, do desk work. And then I had to go through a whole process. And I felt like I was going through a tick box process, and that was being judged. Is he good enough? Is he, can he do the job still? And one of the reasons why I left the police was that I'd gone for my sergeant promotion board the year before. I failed it by 1 mark, but I was going through a mental health crisis. I didn't know that at the time. And I think that's another point. Often we don't know we're going through these things until something breaks. And a few things happened. And when it came to putting my board application in, my inspector said, I just don't think you're right at the moment. So there is a stigma around mental health. I don't care what anybody says. There is. I've lived it. I speak to enough clients. So judgment is a really big thing. And every habit of action is driven by a habit of thought. Okay, so when we're born, when we come into this world, there are only 2 things. There are 2 things that, as babies, make us scared. And that is, by the way, if you can hear shouting, it's my son on his Xbox. So I'm staying calm at the moment. I hope you can't hear that. So yeah, so the 2 things that we're born with in regards to fear is the fear of loud noises and the fear of being dropped. Everything else is created. Everything else is actually something in our environment that's caused us. So this is why when we feel wronged, or we think something's going wrong in our lives, we look to blame people, we look to procrastinate. I can't do that because I haven't got the qualifications. I can't do that because I feel this. I can't do that because we blame our environment for that, because we don't know how to change that environment. So I want to talk about the vulnerability bucket and how that links with mental health, and how actually unchecked, it can lead to paranoia, it can lead to psychosis, it can, if we don't deal with this, it can get really, really bad. So I want you to imagine somebody from a poorer background has got a very small bucket. They've got a very small bucket. And somebody from a wealthy background has got a huge bucket. And we start to fill that with water. And as you're filling that with water, that water is all the problems and all the things that are happening in life. Now, if you're rich and you're vulnerable, you can get access to help. But if you're poor, you have to use the system. So it's harder to gain access. And this is why when it comes to, they say with the BMAE and with other vulnerable groups, that mental health is higher. And a lot of that is to do with the environment, because they're already marginalized by society in many ways. And this is why we've got mental health issues. And they find they have to be more vulnerable to cope and be more open. So when we look at this bucket, I want you to imagine that this bucket is filling up and it's filling up. Now, if the bucket of pressure was filling up at the same level, and you've got the big bucket for the person with money or resources, and you've got a little bucket for somebody who hasn't got many resources, they haven't got those skills, they haven't got things to tap into, the person lower down their bucket is gonna overflow. And as it overflows, that is the emotion. And what we then try and do is push the water back in. We're gathering it. We're trying to get the water back in, but it's just flowing back out. And this is why we become manic. This is why that cloud descends as our prefrontal cortex, the logical part of our brain, starts to close down, and we use the amygdala, which is our fight or flight, our reptilian brain, and we're trying to fight to keep all those emotions in, because we don't want to see that our bucket is failing and it's not big enough to capture everything that we need to do. Now, if we look at the bigger bucket, it doesn't mean that the issues within that bucket are not equal. It just means that you've got more room to grow. So you've got more bucket to fill. So if you, for example, are really suffering with confidence, self-esteem, you're really suffering with anxiety, you may have access to be able to go and buy that drink and self-medicate. You may have that opportunity to go and have a massage. You may have that opportunity to take time out from work. You may have that opportunity to go and have a lovely holiday. So it doesn't lessen. Mental health is the same for everybody, but it depends how big your bucket is and what other things that you have in your life that allows you to stop that bucket overflowing. Now, often when the bucket gets too full and we need to release that water, what we do is we'll tap holes in it, but then we don't want to be seen for that water coming out, those feelings coming out that we're not coping. So what we do is we'll plug those holes with drugs, with shopping addictions, with any other types of addictions or bad habits that might allow us to feel that we've got some sort of control. Now, I'm very quickly going to talk suicide here when it comes to this, because from my own experience of being on the verge of suicide, one of the things that I found was that, and being a police officer and having seen people when they've had to kill themselves and deal with that and all the investigations, is that one of the things that seemed very consistent was that before somebody commits suicide, they're quite calm. They've made a decision. And I spoke to somebody recently who said a friend of his who was in America was in debt, and he took a loan out and went down to South America, had sex with lots of hookers, took lots of drugs, and then actually said, oh, life's not too bad. Ended up going to jail because he couldn't pay the loan back. But the point here is that when people make that decision to commit suicide, it's often about control. And the way that we deal with people is we often don't come from an empathetic point of view. We come from a sympathetic point of view. And I want to explain what that is. And often talking therapy is from a point of sympathy. So I'm going to now share with you my own experience at the moment that I'm going through. So I started my business in January. I'm amazing at what I do. That's not being arrogant. I've helped so many people. I had a message this week of somebody who said, if I died tomorrow, I just feel happy. And that wasn't in a horrible, we just lifted all of this emotion. But since lockdown, I've just not had the clients. And my wife, who's a service designer, she started her business at the same time as me in January. We're getting no help from the government. And presently, financially, we've used all our savings. We've maxed our credit cards out just to pay the bills. We're getting no support from the government. And I'm working out how the hell I pay my mortgage next month. And that's me being vulnerable. I'm telling you that as a fact. That, you know, I might not be in this group much longer because I can't afford to be in here, you know? But the way that I'm approaching this is completely different. So I'm going to tell you what, if I was talking to a therapist or somebody came to me about that, about how that would be dealt with. So sympathy would look like this. Oh my God, that's really, really bad. But at least you've got a roof over your head at the moment. You know, at least you've got your health. At least you've got these things right now. That's sympathy. This is what empathy looks like. You know, that is really tough, and I don't know what to say, but I just want to say I'm here for you. And what do you need from me? What do you need from me? Because as I said before with that Brené Brown quote, that daring greatly means courage to be vulnerable. It means to show up and be seen, to ask what you need. But often you don't know what you need. But when somebody says, what do you need from me? It might be just to be heard. It might be that you need, you know, I can't cope. What I actually need is I need you to go and do this for me. So if you're asking me that question from an empathetic point of view, what do I need? I want you to speak to anybody you know who's having a really tough time and say, listen, I know this really good guy. He can help you in one session get over anxiety. He can get you to stop smoking in 2 hours. What do I need? I want you to go to my website. I want you to connect with me. I want you to find out more about what I do. How can I help you? How can I help your business? That's what I need. I need to make connection, avoid rejection. I was talking to Dave Lycett today, and I want to start guitar lessons. I'm a musician in the army. I'd really like to start guitar lessons. I'd really like to be able to volunteer and take my therapy to people that don't have access to money. I'd really like to give this therapy free to frontline workers who are not getting the support they need, but I need to pay my bills. I need to fill my cup up first, let it overflow, not like the vulnerability bucket, but let it overflow into a saucer so I can feed people from that saucer. So what do I need? I need support. I don't need sympathy. I don't need to say, oh my God, that's really, really bad, because I've done the work. I know that this will work out. I don't know how, but I know it will. So I want you to think about that if you're ever speaking to somebody who maybe is in a tough situation, whatever that may be, and think about, am I coming from a place of sympathy or am I coming from a place of empathy? Sympathy is very much about, this is what I can give to you, which is ego driven. That's driven from, if I help you, I feel better. I feel better. If I go, oh, do you know what I'll do? I tell you what, I'm going to buy you some food. So there's that famous phrase, give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day. Sympathy. Teach him how to fish and you'll feed him for the rest of his life. And as a rapid transformational therapist, what I do is I use the empathy model with hypnosis, with CBT, with psychotherapy, with NLP. We go back to the root cause of why you feel the way you do. And then I don't tell you what you need to do. We change your brain. We change your brain. We change the neurons in your brain to think differently about that situation. And then through my coaching courses, I then give you the tools to empower you. So the difference between what I do as a rapid transformational therapist and what you would do as a normal therapist is that I come from a place of empathy. And one of the things that I'll say is, okay, if I had a magic wand and you could have any wish, what would that be? And that's the same as saying, what do you need? So somebody might say, well, I'd love to be a millionaire. I'd love to be a millionaire. And it's okay. Why do you want to be a millionaire? What does that look like? Well, if I had a millionaire, I wouldn't need to work. I could do this. I could do that. I could do the other. I could spend more time with my kids. Okay. So what does that look like? I'd just be so free. Okay, so you don't want to be a millionaire, you want freedom. Why can't you give yourself freedom right now? Because we're in this game that we're chasing these things all the time, that we think that things, gold, glory, girls, looks, things will plug the hole in the bucket, and they won't. What you need is a bigger bucket. And then you need a way of making sure that water evaporates, and you use that water. As I say, you let the water come out, you overflow it, and then you use that water for good. And as a rapid transformational therapist, that is what I do. It's about empowerment. And this is why, just in one session, and then with the support packages I have over 21 days, I can do in less than a month what most people can't do in a lifetime in regards to therapy. Because we're not dealing with the thing, we're dealing with the feeling. So I'm going to give you a quick example of that in regards to smoking. So one of my success rates is that I can help people stop smoking in 2 hours. How? Let me give you an example. So when, this was pretty much when I first started practicing, I had a lady come to me from France. Her name was Camille. She was in her 30s, had a 2-year-old child. She was a smoker, and she felt that she wasn't connecting with her child. She was spending too much time going out smoking. She wouldn't smoke in front of her child, and she was having mum guilt and all that sort of stuff. So as she was having all this mum guilt, she said, I need to know why I feel that way, why I can't. I've tried patches, I've tried vaping, I just want to give up, but I can't do it. So when we went that, it was all about why I feel I can't stop smoking. So the smoking was controlling her. So what we did is we did the session, and one of the scenes that came up, pretty much the same old story, that she was at school, somebody offered a cigarette, smoking career started. Okay. Most therapy would deal with that. However, the crucial scene that we went to was when she was around about 3, and her mum and dad used to throw parties, and they were throwing this party in France. Everybody was drinking, smoking, having a great time, you know, nothing dodgy. But she was the only child that was there. So she goes up to her mum and she wants some comfort. She's 3. Appropriate behaviour. Mum, I want some comfort. Mum's having a great time and just goes, Camille, just go and play. What happened was her mind went, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, because your mind's there to keep you alive, not to keep you happy. And it went, I've been rejected. And there was a marker there that when I've been rejected. Your subconscious mind is recording all the time, and what had happened was that she then, when it came to that period where she got given the cigarette, what actually happened was this. She'd left a school that she loved, she went to a new school, wasn't happy. One of the popular girls offered her a cigarette, and her subconsciously, okay, not consciously, she didn't know this, she did once she'd worked with me, was that her subconscious mind went, oh, remember all those times when you've been rejected and people had those white sticky things? Take the white sticky thing, then you'll be part of the tribe, then you won't die. It's as simple as that. That literally is what happened. As soon as she then, as an adult, she could see that, and what she was doing was manifesting the same thing that had happened with her as a young child. Stop smoking like that. And then using the recording that we get, it's all bespoke. She listens to that for 21 days. And her brain then became trained to know her truth, that she could be a smoker. And it was very, very easy to give up smoking. So vulnerability is not weakness. Vulnerability is courage. And vulnerability is not just about talking and showing up. It's about taking action and taking responsibility and not procrastinating. If you want to have a life where you feel free, where you feel at peace, you don't need money, you don't need things. You just need to understand where those feelings, the root cause of those feelings were. Because you wouldn't go to a dentist with a broken tooth and sit there talking about how much it's hurting for weeks and weeks. You'd get him to get in there, extract it, and then go and put a nice new false tooth in there that's nice and shiny. And once you can do that, and once you upgrade from Windows 95 to Windows 10, and you get that amazing new operating system, all of the cool stuff the cars, the money, all of that stuff that we want to have then has additional value, because inside you're free to live the life that you want to have. So I hope that makes sense. And I'd really like to know if you need to speak to me and you want more information about what I do. I've got quite a few videos on my website. So my website is makeyourlifecount.co.uk. I've also got a Facebook group, which is Finding Your Power. So that's facebook.com/groups/Finding Your Power. I'm on Instagram, makeyourlifecount.co.uk. Follow me on there. I'm on Twitter @LeadersAskWhy. Connect with me. Have a chat, have a conversation. I offer free consultancy calls. I have a range of packages from, just basic RTT, coaching, all the way through to 12-month programs where we can work on each individual thing. I can help you with everything from anxiety to fertility, you name it, even menopause. And then I can pass you on to Deb, and Deb can do her stuff. So I hope that you enjoyed this. As a special gift to you all at Cheshire Socialites, one of my really successful coaching tools that I use, if anybody knows about journaling is amazing. If you go to journal.makeyourlifecount.co.uk, that's journal.makeyourlifecount.co.uk, there is a coupon code in there where you can go to my online training portal and you can access that for free. I think I've got it priced at just under 60 quid. So you're getting just under 60 quid's worth of training. Really powerful tool. And I've taken this from some of the coaches that I have worked with, taken all of their good stuff, Marissa Peer, Lisa Nichols, Regan Hillier, Bob Proctor. So these are some of the people that I'm with. So when you come and work with me, you're working with somebody that's worked with some of the best coaches in the world, but you pay a fraction of the price. So amazing to be on here. I hope that was useful for people. Pop some comments below. If you're watching this on replay, just tag me in, just put #replay, tag me in, ask me any questions. Please connect. It's really important that as a group within Cheshire Socialites, we start to support each other, get vulnerable, and I hope everybody has an amazing evening. I hope this was informative. And if there's anything you want me to talk about mental health wise, then of course, let me know. Like Deb was saying, I'm going to be doing this every Wednesday. So I'd really like to know, what is it that you're struggling with? How can I help you? How can I serve you? And go out there and tell people that I'm here. Have an amazing evening, everybody. I'm going to sign off now. I'd just like to say to Joanna, thank you so much for what you're doing and all the work you're putting in with Cheshire Socialites. I'm obviously here to support you, and let's grow this and let's get the Northern Hub going. The Southerners aren't doing much at the moment, are they, down in sunny London? So let's put Cheshire on the map. Have a great evening, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed it, and let's connect soon.